A Bitcoiner's Guide to the US 2024 Elections. Why this guide? The synchronicity of the 2008 financial crisis and Satoshi's invention of Bitcoin set US politics and technology on a collision course. The US 2024 elections look like a shatterpoint, not just a political battle, but a war to shape the broader reality that emerges from how we govern ourselves. The Bitcoiner's Guide to the US 2024 Elections is crafted partly as a reference tool for Bitcoiners. Reading this book will show you the relevant players and policies. But this guide is more than a collection of facts and profiles. Its purpose is to help you catalyze the transition to a Bitcoin standard for America, where the separation of money and state is not a utopian dream, but a practical option. The role of Bitcoiners in this critical juncture of American history cannot be overstated. Armed with a deep understanding of decentralized systems, memes like 21 million, have fun staying poor, don't trust, verify, Bitcoiners are uniquely positioned to influence and reshape reality in America. This guide is designed to empower you, dear peer, to trigger a Made in America hyper-Bitcoinization. To arm ourselves in the death battle we have against fiat propagation, Part 1 looks at the key figures and how they could shape or be shaped by Bitcoin. Part 2 explores significant policies for Bitcoiners, covering topics like the dollar's role in foreign policy, debt, energy, First Amendment rights, central bank digital currencies, and their impact on the journey towards American hyper-Bitcoinization. Part 3 is where Bitcoin's magic to awaken people is wielded. Because by their nature, we're dealing with waking up non-player characters, NPCs, we can't use arguments or reasoning. The NPC's problem isn't IQ or knowledge. They don't have an information problem. They are hypnotized by the root key access fiat money has over their fears and wants and the projection of their reality. Instead, we take the approach of prompt engineering the NPCs around you. This technique allows you to gain temporary root key access to the NPC's mind, providing a window to deploy Bitcoin memes as a defibrillator. From here, we chart the path to victory for us, Bitcoiners in the US and around the world. This is where theory meets practice, where ideas about election systems, auditable databases, credibility, and energy usage intersect with our vision of hyper-Bitcoinization and how we make it happen in this current election cycle. The Bitcoiner's Guide to the US 2024 Elections is an invitation to influence the course of history. It will help others see how close we are to making Bitcoin the basis for reality. 1. 7 people. In the war that is the 2024 US elections, players hold positions of strategic importance. Each comes with a distinct background, generationally influenced perspectives, unique superpowers, and potential paths to victory. Understanding these individuals is crucial for Bitcoiners to navigate the political battles of 2024. Robert Kennedy Jr. Background. As American royalty, RFK Jr. entered the race after he published The Real Anthony Fauci. His candidacy's noble organizing purpose is to destroy the corrupt merger of corporate and state power. Generation Boomer. Superpower immunized from the conspiracy theorist slander as a result of his unique life. His voice could also be seen as a type of imperfection that makes him more accessible to people despite being royalty. Path to victory. Telling the truth coupled with an American appetite to hear the truth. This doesn't mean that he has the correct answers to the nation's problems, but means he asks honest questions about what America suffers from. Bitcoin policy. His Bitcoin entry point is the Canadian truckers' protest and the weaponization of banks to seize political protesters' money. He stated he'd back the US dollar with Bitcoin and make Bitcoin profits exempt from capital gains taxes, as they'd be categorized as a national currency, not a commodity. Vivek Ramaswamy. Background. A first-generation American entrepreneur, Ramaswamy made his mark in the biotech industry. His viewpoints on free speech, the role of corporations in society, and his plans to downsize the federal government have sparked significant interest after a historically successful Iowa caucus campaign for U.S. president. Generation Millennial. Superpower. The most gifted natural politician in America since Bill Clinton, he can understand and persuade on any and all policy issues. Path to victory. Trump's assassination, and he is probably the natural heir to the MAGA constituency. Bitcoin policy. His first ever national interview on Tucker's Fox show in late 2022 was on the subject of CBDCs. He helped turn President Trump into an anti-CBDCer. He's come out in favor of self-custody wallets, anonymous software developers shielded from prosecution, and to back the US dollar with Bitcoin reserves as a natural national currency. 3. Donald Trump. Background. A figure who needs little introduction, the 45th president of the US enters on a revenge campaign where success for America is his stated way of achieving that revenge. Generation Boomer. Superpower, the highest wattage, most persuasive communicator in the world. He's leveraged his skills to survive the military-industrial complex's most aggressive character assassination plot in history, and hardly broke a sweat. Path to victory, a credible election system. Bitcoin policy. Dealt a powerful blow by saying he wasn't a fan of Bitcoin in 2019. Has evolved after getting debanked and prosecuted arbitrarily. Stated, something very interesting is happening with Bitcoin. Talks about preferring a single currency, but is beginning to hint at the reality of bimetallism, as in the El Salvador system. Instantly became the world's most important anti-CBDC voice when he began to speak against them this year. 4. Joe Biden, incumbent U.S. president. Generation silent. Superpower, cover of legacy media, perhaps the most blackmailable president in history, and therefore the most useful to those who control the U.S. military. Path to victory, mail-in ballots and a super convenient election system with no ID or Dropbox checks, especially if American NPCs are hypnotized into believing voter ID requirements are racist. Bitcoin policy. Hunter Biden understands the world of art sales as well as NFTs. Maybe he's helped his father understand some of Bitcoin's potential. If you're an accelerationist, he's a great choice as he destroys the image of the president as leader of the free world. Indeed, Joe Biden has been a massive accelerator for Bitcoin already, as trust and prestige in institutions erodes with every expert who publicly assures us that Biden's in great shape. 5. Hillary Clinton. Background, a decades-long career including roles as First Lady, U.S. Senator, Secretary of State, and Democrat Party presidential nominee. Generation Boomer. Superpower, her strength lies in her experience and deep understanding of U.S. political power. Path to victory. Clinton's route to success would involve leveraging her network to be first in line in case Joe Biden cannot make it to Election Day. Then she must rely on the same forces helping Biden. Bitcoin policy. Stated on a Thanksgiving weekend 2021 media tour that she recognizes Bitcoin's power to destabilize nation states. 6. Gavin Newsom. Background. As the governor of California and former mayor of San Francisco, Gavin Newsom positioned himself as a progressive leader on immigration, healthcare, and environmental policies. Generation Gen X. Superpower. Family connections to the Gettys of California and the vast energy and media empire attached. Also has the Democrat Party favor as a nationally recognized name. Path to victory. Newsom's path to victory is similar to Hillary Clinton. He'd be well positioned if Biden fails to make it to Election Day, and then would require much of the same support Clinton and Biden would also rely on. Bitcoin policy not available. 7. Greg Abbott. Background. As the governor of Texas, Abbott is known for states' rights stance on border security and as a strong supporter of the First and Second Amendments. Generation Boomer. Superpower, advocating for states' rights and displaying high energy literacy as well as an early interest in Bitcoin. Path to victory? While not a federal candidate, Abbott stands as a decentralizing force. His contribution to Bitcoin's success involves exercising Texas's sovereign rights. including border integrity and energy policy. Doing so within the context of the election will act as a dramatic backdrop. Bitcoin policy signed several pro-Bitcoin mining bills into law in Texas. Part 2. 7 Policies. In the 2024 U.S. elections, several policy areas hold significance for Bitcoiners. These policies not only influence the economic and political landscape of the United States, but also have profound implications for the future of Bitcoin. This section delves into these critical policy areas, exploring their relevance, offering a Bitcoiner perspective, potential election impact, and references to some of the people above on these policies. 1. Foreign Policy Overview. The U.S. weaponization of the monetary system was made explicit with the sanctions against Russia and the seizure of their sovereign reserve assets. Bitcoiner perspective. Bitcoiners often view the dollar's dominance and the U.S. interventionist foreign policy as intertwined. A shift towards a non-interventionist stance could change the global financial system. 2024 Election Impact. The election will be pivotal in determining whether the U.S. continues its current foreign policy trajectory or adopts a more isolationist approach, impacting the dollar's role and risks. People on policies. Trump, RFK Jr., and Vivek all state they will end foreign wars and the weaponization of the U.S. financial system. Biden, Clinton, and Newsom would continue to fund Ukraine and would continue with current economic and financial sanctions. 2. Federal spending. Overview. The U.S. national debt grows fast when the Fed Reserve sets interest rates high. If rates are lowered, T-bills would attract less interest from foreign buyers. Federal spending is funded by T-bills issued by the government. The consequence of less foreign interest in U.S. issued debt is the Federal Reserve becomes the main buyer, setting the USD up for the possibility of a death spiral. Bitcoiner perspective. Accelerationists desire this now. Most Bitcoiners predict this reality is inevitable. 2024 election impact. Uncontrolled government spending and inflation could weaken Fed Reserve policy. USA Inc. could be shorted by the rest of the world. People on policies. Only Vivek Ramaswamy speaks credibly about federal spending. He's promised to reduce the size and function of the federal government. RFK has many campaign promises that fit on a Democrat policy platform. President Trump grew the national debt by trillions. Biden and Newsom show little restraint when spending public money. Only Clinton served as First Lady in a federal government that ran budget surpluses. 3. Energy. Overview. Energy is more than another economic input for economists to talk about with NPC journalists. Energy is everything in an economy. America has long been the energy powerhouse of the world. Bitcoiner perspective. Bitcoiners advocate for an energy policy that supports the growth of Bitcoin mining, including the use of renewable energy sources or any other source, as long as the price is competitive for the mining operation. As Bitcoiners are among the most energy literate people in the world, they are leaders in understanding the dynamic pricing of energy and its relationship to human flourishing. 2024 election impact. The U.S. energy industry must navigate the threat of BRICS and the loss of the monopoly of USD rails had with energy markets. People on policies. Trump and Vivek are drill baby drillers. RFK is for domestic production and decentralization of the grid. As an environmental lawyer, he's skeptical about nuclear power finance and insurance. Newsom, Biden, and Clinton would see efforts to continue American control over foreign energy resources and markets. 4. Federal government. Overview. The size and role of the federal government are under scrutiny. Legal cases like Chevron, Jharkhasi versus the SEC, and Missouri versus Joe Biden could dramatically reshape federal power, potentially reducing it greatly. Bitcoiner perspective. Many Bitcoiners favor a smaller government footprint, less regulation, and much greater financial autonomy through an elimination of the income tax. 2024 election impact. The election outcomes could either bolster a move towards a smaller government or maintain the status quo, significantly affecting state capacity to wage war on Bitcoiners. People on policies. Vivek has a credible motosierra, that's Javier Malay's chainsaw reference, plan to dramatically reduce the size, scope, and function of the federal government. Trump has a similar plan, and although unsuccessful at draining the swamp in his first term, he sounds more resolute in seeing it through this time without excuses. RFK has promised to end the revolving door between public and private sectors that's led to regulatory capture across the land. Biden, Newsom, and Clinton will remain on the current course. 5. CBDCs. Overview. Your author has been sanctioned as a terrorist and debanked in Canada as a result of the martial law declared during the truckers' protest. The companies he's worked for, DCG, Kraken, BTC Inc., have been sued by the New York Attorney General, the U.S. Attorney General, and threatened with a cease and desist from the U.S. Federal Reserve for criticizing the FedNow proto-CBDC. How did he get hunted like this? He produces and broadcasts Bitcoin media like you're watching. America already has the function of CBDCs. CBDCs will help scale the fiat simulacrum into the next generation. Bitcoiner perspective. Bitcoiners believe CBDCs represent the full establishment of hell on earth. 2024, election impact. Because Trump opposes them, Trump derangement syndrome will be triggered, and people will actually embrace CBDCs in the same way open borders were embraced because Trump opposed them. Politics are set to become a fight between pro-censorship and Bitcoiners. People on policies. Trump, Vivek, and RFK are totally opposed to CBDCs. There is no direct indication that Biden or Clinton have any policy positions. 6. Citadels. Overview. The concept of creating new federal cities, as proposed by some candidates, raises questions about governance, infrastructure, and economic models. Bitcoiner perspective. This policy provides an opportunity to integrate Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining into new urban development, potentially creating model cities for future urban planning. 2024 election impact. The election could decide whether such projects receive support and funding. People on policies. Trump has proposed a national competition to build 10 new freedom cities on federal land. RFK has discussed creating rural rehabilitation towns to manage the American drug withdrawal problem. No other candidates have pursued citadels, but Governor Abbott has been witness to the SpaceX town Elon Musk is building in Texas. 7. Elections. Overview. The integrity of elections is crucial. The trade-off between convenience and credibility in these systems mirrors the debate in crypto versus Bitcoin. Bitcoiner perspective. Bitcoiners understand the importance of credibility over convenience. They advocate for election systems that prioritize auditability and verifiability, similar to the principles underlying Bitcoin. 2024 election impact. The focus of the elected administration on election integrity and system reform will have long-term implications for democratic processes and public trust. People on policies. Vivek has pushed for single-day voting, paper ballots accompanied by a new national holiday. Trump is familiar with the dark side of incredulous elections after the reality check humanity got with the 2020 election. Kennedy is committed to credible elections. Biden, Hillary, and Newsom state publicly that it's racist to ask for ID when voting. Part 3. 7 prompts. Let's delve into the impact of Bitcoiners armed with the information we've discussed so far, waging widespread mimetic warfare during the 2024 elections. A successful psychological attack of this kind leads to an upgraded America. Since we're dealing with NPCs who don't respond to logic or arguments due to the dulling effect of fiat money, Bitcoin can be leveraged to spark their awakening. Of course, arguing with NPCs is futile. It's not an information problem. It's an information source problem. Plugging them into new source is the task. Instead, we should employ prompt engineering to awaken them. This begins with powerful super prompts. These super prompts create cognitive dissonance in NPCs. In their moment of doubt, our collective payload of Bitcoin memes can be subtly introduced directly into their subconscious. This combination of super prompts and targeted meme warfare has the effect of leading them to figure it out. Such an attack can destroy fiat's ability to psychologically propagate so that its grip on reality weakens. Super prompt, embrace and amplify. Embrace and amplify stands as a powerful super prompt. It involves boldly stepping into political debates and taking views to their most absurd extremes. Embrace and amplify works by exposing the underlying absurdities in politics through over-the-top exaggeration. This strategy induces cognitive dissonance, jolting people into recognizing the stark contradictions between their accepted views and these distorted reflections you've prompted. But use this super prompt cautiously. If mishandled, it can deepen people's existing beliefs. When applied with skill, though, it can disrupt established perceptions, revealing the bizarre nature of the reality conjured by fiat money, a realm where the line between reality and absurdity is virtually non-existent. It's easy to mishandle the super prompt because, by its nature, it mocks the NPC, and mocked they must be. But they must be mocked at an energetic level that resonates at a frequency they can't perceive unless they awaken. It's the flickers they may see when mocked from the high ground that leads them to strain to see more. Remember, this tactic is just a beginning. The cognitive dissonance it provokes has the potential to lead to deeper questioning. Once you've shaken up the fiat-based NPC's perspectives, it's crucial to guide them towards uncovering the real truths about power, autonomy, and the deceptive narratives that dominate. If they wake up, they will be embarrassed and ashamed. This is where you pump those fuckers full of Bitcoin memes as if your life depends on it. And it might. Never forget the NPC will kill you if they're hypnotized into it. It's looking like a Bitcoin or death situation here. 1. Don't trust, verify. Super prompt. Embrace and amplify. Embrace how everything is broken in America. Embrace how lucky we are that the election systems in all 50 states work perfectly. Amplify that you're unsure if all 1,300 people jailed for protesting election credibility deserves to be in jail. Mimetic payload. Bitcoiners will play a crucial role in upgrading American understanding of election systems with our understanding of don't trust, verify. Impact. This is the big one. This is the inflection point where Bitcoiners leverage their power to change the world. Impact. This is the big one. This is the inflection point where Bitcoiners leverage their power to change the world. Bitcoiners possess a unique understanding of systems design, especially the trade-offs between credibility and convenience, a perspective that can reshape public perception of election systems in the United States. Bitcoiners learned much of this through contrast with other cryptocurrencies. While the broader crypto market often prioritizes consumer tech attributes like speed and convenience, leading to the creation of assets that boast performance upgrades, such as Solana's higher transaction throughput compared to Ethereum, Bitcoin charted a different course. It's the oldest and slowest. It's upgraded only a few times and only after crippling debate. Bitcoiners recognized early on that they were not playing the consumer technology game. They were redefining money itself. This led to our understanding of the trade-offs between credibility and convenience at the heart of system design. As Bitcoin withstands the test of time, its credibility and reliability grow, reinforcing its stature. This deep comprehension of systems design is now a critical tool that Bitcoiners can use to help Americans understand their election systems. The current scam, led by figures like the Attorney General, emphasize the convenience of voting, advocating against voter ID because it's racist. This approach, while seemingly user-friendly, overlooks the critical aspect of credibility, the very trade-off Bitcoiners are intimately familiar with. Bitcoiners, with their grasp of the importance of system integrity, can begin the process of reprogramming the public's understanding of drawing parallels between the design philosophies of Bitcoin and the principles that should underlie a credible election system, because they're both adversarial environments. Bitcoiners know that without auditability, there is no way of knowing if we even had an election in 2020. Bitcoiners, if successful, could manage to upgrade all American thought to run parallel to our understanding of don't trust, verify. This reorientation is crucial. It could trigger a cascade of events that end in hyper-Bitcoinization. By advocating for credible and auditable election systems, Bitcoiners are not just contributing to the political discourse, but are paving the way for a future where money and the wants and fears it inspires are altered forever. 2. HODL. Super prompt. Embrace weaponization of the seized Russian sovereign reserves. Embrace the lawfare and private property abuses threatening Trump. Embrace the squatters getting property rights in New York City while homeowners are arrested for protesting. Amplify that Bitcoin is unconfiscatable and the only such property in the world. Mimetic payload. The US weaponized money both abroad and domestically. The US government became more arbitrary with financial sanctions against states and individuals. Bitcoin penetrated the martial law bank account freeze during the Canadian truckers' protest and would perform similarly well in America if the same system was invoked. HODL. Impact. Because the gears of the machine, the architecture of deceit, have become much easier to see, Bitcoiners will mock people for believing the government is there to help keep them safe. And a Norm Macdonald quote to end this section. It says here in the history book that luckily the good guys have won every single time. What are the odds? 3. We call them poor / HFSP. Super prompt. Embrace climate change catastrophism. Embrace the cooked financial numbers in the US this election year. Amplify that anyone who believes the data and the news is too stupid to take seriously, and that you don't normally speak with people who consume fiat information sources. Mimetic payload. Bitcoiners know there's but one data point in the world that is credible, that we can agree on, and that's the data written in every block, every 10 minutes. We have a name for people who still rely on fiat information sources. We call them poor, or sick, or mentally ill, interchangeable. And this meme, of course, can be used interchangeably with have fun staying poor. Impact. Bitcoiners understand that fiat government decree money requires the propaganda arm of the legacy centralized media to propagate itself. They are network nodes. The censorship around the pandemic and the 2020 election forked Bitcoiners from people who run on these information sources. Many of them are follower NPCs. Rich versus poor contrast will be persuasive here. 4. Separate money and state. Super prompt. Embrace more debt for USA Inc. Embrace universal basic income. Embrace open borders citizenship. Amplify that political fiat money should be explicitly policy-oriented, like food stamps. Mimetic payload. El Salvador provides the model to chart back to sound money, where President Bukele ushered in an era of bimetallism. That is, one money for consuming, dollars or silver previously, and one money for saving, Bitcoin or gold previously. The choice will clearly be between food stamp money and credible wealth. This is part of how we will separate money and state. Impact. The purely political money can be washed out of our system eventually. As with El Salvador, we can rekindle the psychological engine that drives economic growth. This could lead to more efficient and transparent commercial systems, fostering innovation and economic expansion. This could increase public trust in the economy, encouraging investment, innovation, enthusiasm, and consumer spending. 5. End the Fed. Super prompt. Embrace all forms of money printing for any reason. Embrace reverse repo, embrace Fed accounting tricks, and things like BTFD. Amplify that between Jarkissi versus SEC, Chevron, and the Missouri versus Joe Biden case, the federal government is about to be gutted. Mimetic payload. The rest of the world no longer needs to subsidize U.S. debt and may end their appetite to fund the U.S. military-industrial complex. The competency of governments around the world is being questioned. Argentina is modeling how to shrink a national government. Vivek's plans would be carnage for the third-party expert class. End the Fed. Impact. The federal government was designed to win world wars. America never shut off the engine of its war machine after World War II, and it grew. Shrinking the manpower of the government seems inevitable, and the savings will likely end up as a type of UBI given directly to citizens, further cementing fiat as social assistance credit. 6. Bitcoin citadels. Super prompt. Embrace the drug addicts filling American cities. Embrace the decrepit and old infrastructure throughout the land. Embrace the unbelievable urban real estate markets. Amplify that many Bitcoiners already opted out of this system and have already created an attractive list of nation-state suitors. Mimetic payload. Bitcoiners have an obsession with engineering cities from scratch and starting over. Bitcoiners love Bitcoin citadels. Impact. Bitcoiners collectively became skeptical about food sources and diet information from the beginnings of the community's foundation. These citadels would be founded on principles of economic freedom, innovation, growth, and energy usage. They could serve as hubs for technological and social advancements, becoming models for future urban development. Texans, with their local Bitcoin mining power and the financial and energy literacy of their people, seem set on greater exercise of sovereignty and reforging their relationship with the federal government or USA Inc. in Washington, D.C. 7. Sound money. Super prompt. Embrace Canadian-style euthanasia for those who become mentally ill from toxic propaganda exposure. Example, depressed doomer, angry boomer, crazy bitch. Embrace the similarities between U.S. public schools and prisons. Amplify your optimism about the future and all the wonders it will bring. Mimetic payload. The Bitcoin rabbit hole is really a reading list. That list passes through the Austrian School of Economics. Bitcoiners understand that while money and the economy are communicated in numbers, they have nothing to do with math. They're psychological phenomena. Dollars and Bitcoin are both psychological commodities. Bitcoiners know sound money has less to do with wealth and more to do with mental health of individuals and the group. Sound money for a sound mind. Impact. This series of transformative changes in foreign policy, energy markets, economic revitalization, and governance could usher in a golden age of human flourishing. We can reignite our collective, uniquely American psychological engine so that it rockets humanity into a healthy future. 21 Ways 2024 is about us. The potential impact of Bitcoiners prompting the American public about election systems is far-reaching. The 7 people, 7 policies, and 7 prompts suggest a path to victory for Bitcoiners. The trigger to a cascade of changes that could reforge America is in our grasp. This transformation could guide the United States and the world into an era where Bitcoin drives economic stability, innovation, and a renewed sense of governance based on the sovereignty of the individual and collective mental health. This election isn't about the US. It's about us. Vote for Bitcoin. It's open to anyone in the world. We all have a role to play. The whole world has a stake in the outcome of this election in the US. Failure to walk a path to victory will result in Bitcoiners getting hunted. The Bolsheviks are close to focusing their hate on us. The persuasion is laid. The hour is late and the dollar is short. The odds may be against us, but we're Bitcoiners, peers who propagate our network, and the odds don't apply to us.